It was nearly 5 years ago, but the memory is still sharp. I'd been searching for a used car, something reliable but cheap. I spent days scrolling through listings on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Eventually, I found a car that looked like a great deal. Reached out to the seller, a man named Mike, and we arranged to meet at a gas station not far from where I lived. Mike was a large man with a dark goatee. We agreed to meet up around 7 in the evening. I drove my old car to the station. The thing barely ran, but it made the trip. The lot was quiet when I arrived. A few minutes later, the car I'd seen in the ad pulled in and parked near the back. I walked over and I greeted Mike. He seemed friendly enough. We talked a bit about the vehicle, then he offered to let me take it for a test drive. First, he said he wanted to show me a few things. He asked me to sit in the passenger seat while he explained how the car handled. Nothing about that struck me as odd. I got in, we pulled out of the lot and started driving. At first, everything seemed normal. He pointed out features, talked about the brakes and the engine. But then 5 minutes passed, and he was still behind the wheel. I thought he would have pulled over by then, but he just kept on driving. The road grew quieter. Trees lined both sides. I didn't recognize where we were anymore. Mike stopped talking. The silence stretched. I asked if it was my turn to drive. He mumbled something about just needing another minute. Then 2 more minutes passed. Still driving. Finally, Mike slowed down. We were on a desolate stretch of road. No other cars in sight. As we pulled over, I saw a narrow trail leading into the woods nearby. Parked off that trail was a dark SUV with its lights off. My stomach dropped. As the car came to a stop, the doors on the SUV opened. 2 figures stepped out and began walking towards us. Mike turned to me and he told me to hand me my phone. I asked why, but he ignored the question. I glanced at the approaching people. They were still a bit far off, but something about the scene felt completely wrong. I didn't wait to find out what was going to happen next. I yanked the door open and I bolted into the woods. Branches slapped against my face. Behind me I heard shouting. Multiple men's voices. They were running. I didn't look back. I pushed deeper into the trees, slipping and tripping, but never stopping. While running, I fumbled for my phone and dialed for emergency services. I shouted that I was being chased and needed help. I had no idea if the call even connected. I just kept running. The voices behind me grew fainter. Eventually, I couldn't hear them at all. I found a thick patch of brush and crouched low, trying to catch my breath. I called again. This time I was able to speak with someone. I gave them as much detail as I could. They traced my location through the call and told me to stay put. After some time, I made my way back towards the road. A patrol car found me near the tree line. I was safe. Mike and the others were long gone by then. I described everything I could, though the only face I truly remembered was Mike's. Police were able to find him later. I don't know what happened to the rest. What I do know is that I was lucky. Lucky to get away. If I had waited just 1 more minute in that car, I might not be able to tell the story. Story 2. Party Stranger. I remember the late 90s, mostly because of the Clinton scandal. Not because I cared about the politics, but because the news coverage hijacked my entire childhood for a while. My parents were furious with the president. They kept calling him the deadbeat and had the news running constantly. We were living in Maryland back then. My dad worked for the DoD, and he knew someone who had direct ties with Clinton. Everyone in the house was on edge. If Clinton had been forced out, it would have triggered a shift in power that would have affected my dad's boss directly. But I didn't care about any of that. I was just a kid who wanted to watch Rocko's Modern Life. Instead, I was stuck in my room, while the living room downstairs was filled with 10 or so loud adults. I wasn't even allowed to use the small black and white TV we kept in the closet. I doubt I would have tuned to the channel I wanted anyway. So I lay in bed, headphones on, cassette tape playing, trying to ignore the heavy groan of voices rumbling below. That's when I happened to glance out the window. Our backyard looked almost pitch black, except for a few patches lit up by the downstairs window. I noticed someone moving out there. A tall, bald man. He moved quickly, keeping to the shadows, avoiding the light. At first I thought, he must be one of the guests. But something about the way that he crept along the yard made me uneasy. I watched him just kill time. But then he got closer to the house and leaned towards the ground floor windows, trying to see inside. I was just about to flip my cassette when I saw him toss something into the doghouse. It was about the size of a videotape. Our dog Jim had passed away a few weeks earlier, and I didn't like the idea of some stranger touching his space. So, being a stubborn kid, I stormed out to the landing and shouted down to my parents, making sure they knew I was upset. "What man are you talking about?" my mom called back. The house went quiet. The only sound left was the voice of a news anchor on the TV. Then, my dad moved faster than I'd ever seen him. He flew up the stairs, grabbed me, and raced back down. Everyone followed. We ended up waiting at the neighbor's house across the street. Police arrived. A squad came too. I didn't understand how serious things were at that time. I wasn't afraid. I was just annoyed I couldn't go back to bed. The officers asked me what I saw. The best description I could come up with was that the man looked like Captain Picard. They showed me photos for weeks afterward, but I never recognized any of them. We returned to our house eventually, but my parents never told me what the man had placed in the doghouse. Maybe it was a bomb. Maybe it was a threat. Whatever it was bad enough to call in a squad. Years passed. My dad died in 2005 from blood poisoning. My mom followed not long after. I never got answers from either of them. Now I live in Vermont. I had no connection to the people they used to know. But that night stuck with me. And when I told the story at parties, it always leaves the room silent. Story 3. Cashier of Costco. I used to work at Costco as a cashier. Most of my shifts were uneventful, and I'd been there for several months without anything unusual happening. But one Friday night, something happened that still unsettles me when I think about it. That evening, I finished my shift around 8. The sun had already gone down, and the parking lot was dark. I had parked farther back than usual, somewhere near the middle of the lot, with a row of trees behind it separating our store from the other nearby businesses. I was ready to head home and unwind. As I walked towards my car, I took out my keys and got ready to unlock the doors. I was about 20 feet away when I noticed something strange. There was someone inside my car. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I slowed down and looked more carefully. A man was sitting in the back seat, facing away from me. I stopped where I was. I checked again to make sure I was looking at the right vehicle. It was definitely mine. My heart started racing. I turned around and I quickly walked back towards the Costco entrance. I didn't know what to do or how to react. Why would someone be hiding in my car? Inside the store, I found a coworker I trusted and I explained the situation. She immediately offered to come outside with me and take a look. Together we walked out and approached the car slowly. From a distance, it looked like the man was no longer inside. But as we got a bit closer, maybe 10 feet away, we could see he was still in there, now crouched down in the back seat. It was clear he hadn't noticed us yet. We backed away quietly and hid behind another vehicle. My coworker suggested I unlock my car from a distance to see if the man would react or come out. I pressed the button and we waited. Nothing happened. The man stayed hidden in the back seat, not moving. After a few minutes passed and still no sign of movement, we went back inside the building. I told another coworker about it, and after talking it over, I decided to step outside again and call the police. I stayed close to the entrance in case the man tried to flee. While I was on the phone, I saw the back door of the car open. The man slipped out quietly from the far side, the side facing the trees. Without looking back, he walked straight towards the wooded area and disappeared beyond the line of the trees that separated us from the other shops. I kept my eyes on the trees as I slowly walked to my car. He was gone now, but I stayed alert, watching the shadows closely. Once I reached the vehicle, I quickly got in and I locked the doors behind me. Then I drove straight home. When I got back, I checked the car from front to back. Nothing was missing. Nothing was broken. I don't usually keep anything valuable inside, so it didn't look like anything had been touched. It was as if the man had been hiding there with no intention to steal anything at all. The whole experience left me with a lot of questions. Was he waiting for someone? Was he targeting my car on purpose? Or was it just random? Maybe I forgot to lock it that day, even though I usually double check. I'll never know what that man wanted or what might have happened if I had gotten in without noticing him. I'm just thankfully left without trying anything worse.